Howdy guys, I'm Jeep and Jason, and in this video, the AutoEdits Jeep is getting one of the strongest Dana44 front axles you can get in a crate axle. It's the Fusion Elite 44. Hunker in, I'm gonna bring you in for a lot of details and the full install. Check it out. So now, if you guys have been around this channel for a little while, you'll know that about a year and a half ago, I actually put the UD44 underneath this thing, thinking that that was gonna be the perfect upgrade for me in the direction I was heading with this, just an overlanding rig. And I have changed trajectories a little bit with the Jeep over the last year and a half. "4.5" long arm lift, hydro assist steering. I've really decided to take the Jeep in as aggressive direction as I can, still being practical. Now, I have this really unique opportunity here in the sense that I was able to put 1 tons underneath my buddy Joe's Jeep, put the UD44 underneath my Jeep, and now, given all of the things I've learned over this time, figured out what I really want. This is my dream axle right here. This is the epitome, the pinnacle of the Dana44 crate axle because of some of these things. Look at the differences here. Similar bolt-in packaging, right? Right now, this is as out of the crate. I went ahead and got another set of reed knuckles. I changed the ball joints. This is a big deal. This is one of the little things that I'm gonna actually have to knock the UD44. It comes with OEM style ball joints. If you got one of these things, keep an eye on those. Change those when you get your next opportunity once those wear out. I'm going with what I think is a very unique option. These are load-bearing, rare parts ball joints. I'll show you the setup of these later in the video. So what I can say is that the Rubicon 44 jump to the Ultimate 44 is kind of what I would call stock to mid-grade upgrade right here. And then you have top tier, full upgrade, the pinnacle of design and strength in this particular silhouette. Now here are some of the main differences in the straight up comparison between these two axles. Axle tubes are where this to me is the huge place that I need strength. The diameter of the tube and the wall thickness of the tube is where you get the maximum amount of strength in these things. Now you could truss and do all that. Now that's something I don't want to do. I don't want to truss my axles. I'm not that guy. And that's again, that added weight, taking up other real estate. So what you get in the Fusion Elite 44 is a 3-inch outer diameter tube with 1/2-inch wall thickness. Now that is like Dana 60 strong for the front. And then on the UD44 over here, you have 2.5 inches outer wall diameter. So there is added strength in the Fusion. Then take the next jump up. Now all of the flanges and plates on here are 1/4-inch laser cut steel, and the welds on the Fusion axle are insanely good. They are just, I mean, it's like next level welding. Now the outer C's on the Fusion Elite 44 are huge forged units on this thing. Now there was a difference between the stock Rubicon 44 up to the UD44, and then now this massive unit on the Fusion Elite 44. So again, this right here is to me the perfect, if you don't want to commit to a 1 ton or a Dana 60 in the front of your junk, this is the answer. This is the absolute answer right here. It offers me, somebody who's relatively gentle. I'm not somebody who's like just whiskey throttle and all that stuff. So having the Dana44 ring and pinion in here is plenty strong for me. I don't grind teeth off. I don't have that as my biggest concern. I just want the lowest weight for the strongest, and you could see it all here. All of this beef will be able to bolt in. Now the final straw for me to actively search for a replacement for the UD44 was when I went from 3.5 inches of lift to 4.5 inches of lift on this Jeep and the long arms. And that is when I found that the track bar mount, the raised track bar mount on the UD44 was at a certain height and it didn't go any higher, and it induced a bit of bump steer. And that drives me crazy. So it was perfect at 3.5 inches. You know, it didn't make it not drivable. You saw me take it to Death Valley and just wheel the heck out of the thing and road trip it and been driving it. It's been fine. And then when I put the PSC, it eliminated the feeling of the bump steer. So that's cheating, but I don't want, but to me in my head, I want it right, you know, and I want all of the components to work in the way that they're designed to their maximum potential. It's really nice to have a company where you can get somebody on the phone and have them guide you through as an enthusiast-based person, not a sales-based person. So that was huge to me. Like in the back of this Jeep, I'm definitely going with the Fusion 60 center with the JK outers. So it's the semi-float axle on their website. Go look at that thing. It's a work of art, just like this, but it's again that perfect combo of beef where you need it, saving weight where you can. Again, so I digress. Here it is, the coup de grace. This track bar mount right here, not only is it made out of just, you know, quarter-inch steel laser cut plate, it has this right here. See all these options for mounting your track bar? That, to a guy who's really cares about setup like me, this is wonderful. Now I'm only gonna be using this top one, but it's neat that it has this. And then look at this. This is again, a testament to how they design stuff. Look at the arch on this. Now, a lot of times on some of these axles, they'll give you this hole up here at top, but it's in a straight line, and then you don't have enough adjustability on your track bar to shorten it up enough. So this is really cool. They give it to you on an arc. I'll be curious. I'll put the track bar in at the same adjustment just to see if like how close it is because of this arch. It may actually work out math-wise. So again, this right here is a huge thing. Shows you that they're paying attention to the little details and then giving you all the beef. So now that we have all that stuff out of the way, let's slide this underneath the Jeep and start getting it into place. All right, let's go ahead and slide this thing under. Now I did in the other video a very comprehensive look at what it takes to get the other axle out, but it's mostly just disconnecting all of the control arms, brakes. I mean, it's a bunch of work. It's not anything hard. So I'm really curious as to see how this thing lines up with the suspension points with me not changing any of the suspension lengths yet. Let's just get it in and get some measurements and see. So now all of the arms are connected, so the axle is not gonna go anywhere, roll front to back. So now what I'll do is I'll simulate ride height. Now I took a measurement. This is something to do before you take your old stuff out, just to simulate ride height with the vehicle fully weighted. I took the measurement from the inside of the spring cup here to the spring perch at 14.5 is what I wanna see. 14.5 inches right here. So I'm gonna lift it up and simulate ride height, and we'll lock it in there. One more click here. Perfect. Okay, so our axle is level and at ride height, simulated ride height at both sides. All right, so I thought we should go ahead and just get the track bar in. So I'm gonna use this ratchet strap to pull the axle to center, and we'll get a few measurements here and just get us there. Woo, butter, that's perfect. I can tell right now that this is a much more parallel run across to the mounting bracket of the track bar on the frame side over there. So this is gonna be huge. So what I'm gonna do right now is measure from the front body mount to the center of the spring perch, and it's 22 inches dead on right there on both sides. So now I know I have the axle centered in the Jeep and I have it centered in the frame rails. So now is a fun little bit of checking to talk about that caster adjusted pinion on this thing, or the center housing. The differential is caster adjusted. So I had it set to where I had 7 degrees of caster before, and I hadn't changed these arms. And now I'm showing, let's do a rough, now these are just rough estimates of caster, and that's the ball joints. That's the relationship here. So that's a really important one to make a really good driving Jeep. You want to have some good positive caster in there. Negative caster, when it's sitting up neutral, tends to be a really squirrely Jeep. So right now, this is really fascinating to me. So we're gonna take that off, get us a reference measurement here of the caster, 11.1. So the same measurements on the arms that got me about 7 before get me 11.4. So this is a really cool example of how it actually in the description says it's caster adjusted +4. So it actually adds 4 degrees of caster automatically. And this is showing exactly that. I ended up putting a ton of adjustment into the upper arms because of the Fusion housing having that caster adjusted housing. So that way that my pinion angle is absolutely perfect in relation to the transfer case. I was always relying on my Tom Woods drive shaft to take up that little bit of caster adjustment that I made for the UD44, sacrifice the pinion angle. Well, now I have perfect pinion angle and perfect caster for where I want to be with the hydro assist steering, little bit over 7 degrees of positive caster. Now I'm going to go ahead and install the bump stop extenders here that I've been running. These are the Metal Cloak stackable pucks here. Now what we'll do is we'll cycle it up to the bump stops and see what the axle's trajectory is going to be. You can see the bump stop doesn't hit dead center up at full stuff in the wheel well here, because our important measurement is that the axle is centered at ride height. And so the natural arc of this will push it off center. But look at that, it's a pretty square hit there. Let's look at the other side. Same drill over here. Looks very, very good. Now is also a good time to look up underneath your Jeep, and now that you have your rig at stuff, you look and see where the real estate and where things start to look like they're gonna be too tight or out of whack. And up here, making sure that your track bar clears your diff housing, and this is the Metal Cloak, all the Metal Cloak stuff, and lots of the aftermarket stuff has this bend here, which is actually more than enough for what I need here. So we look really, really good. Time for things to get real. We're gonna drop it down and get the coil springs in, get everything kind of supported under its own weight on this axle. Here we go. Well, the heaviest lifting and the sketchiest part, the transition between jack stands under the frame rails and jack stands under the axle. The Jeep is now supporting its own weight on the axles, and that's important because now we're at actual ride height in the front here, and I'm gonna go ahead and go through, cue the montage in the time lapse while I torque down all of our suspension bolts. And that's another pro tip. Never do that while it's not exactly at ride height, because that just binds up all your suspension bushings in not the right spot. You want them to be tightened down, torqued down to spec at exactly right height. That's your starting place for that. So we're there, time to tighten up the suspension, and then we start assembling stuff. You'll notice, or you may have noticed by now, I'm not running the brake dust shields from the stock axle and what I transferred over onto the UD44. So we're gonna go ahead and try this without. Here we go. And that buttons up, brakes, suspension, shocks, springs, everything's looking really good. I think I'm gonna call it for the day, pick it up in the morning, and we'll get steering handle. We got a bunch of fun goodies to cover up there. So, see you in the morning. Hey guys, here we go. I went ahead and got up early and just assembled the rest of this steering stuff. I know we're getting deep into this video, and I just kind of want to run through the really good parts of this now. So we're all assembled, and it's just eyeballed in. It's now time to put the thing on the ground. I filled the differential. They recommend over there to fill it with standard oil first, not synthetic, so non-synthetic oil, if you get that. I'll show this to you. And then you want to break it in correctly. Now, breaking it in consists of heat treating the gears in the sense that you want to run like 25 minutes at normal driving, let it rest all the way down to ambient temperature, so 3 cycles of that, 25 minutes of driving, let it cool to ambient temperature 3 times, and then you have now hardened the gears and they will be good to go. And you can change the fluid at about 500 miles, run synthetic, run whatever you want, and just enjoy the thing. I went ahead and welded up tabs for the PSC cylinder assist, steering assist. And Fusion can do all that stuff for you guys. And their turnaround time is about 2 weeks. So when I pulled the trigger on this thing showed up in less than 2 weeks to my house. And that's one of the other really good things. They're that perfect size company where you can call, get a guy on the phone, give you advice. I spent over an hour on the phone with Dan, and I could have had those welded, but I just, I didn't know exactly what I was gonna want, and I wanted to do that myself, so I did it. So that's done. The rest of this stuff is in place. I went ahead and zip tied the wheel speed sensors up to the brake lines, and they run in and they are connected. Sway bar is reattached. And another thing to kind of look at here to give yourself kind of a pat on the back of how good you've done so far. Springs are just absolutely perfect in the pockets up into the perch here. So you know you did pretty good when everything is lined up. There's no bend or arch to them. The pinion angle is perfect. Now it's time to put the tires on, set it on the ground, and then I'll dial you in on the rare parts ball joints. And now this is really cool because this is a load-bearing upper, which is unique. These now actually press in opposite of a traditional ball joint from the inside. And now we will go down with this special tool. Now that the vehicle is under its own weight, once it keys in, then you just twist this down to preload to 50 inch-pounds. And that is, according to the directions, as soon as this twists, right there. Now what I'll do is I'll put this set screw in the back here. We'll put our Zerk fitting on, and we'll put a little bit of grease into that. I say we drive this thing. All right, let's drive this thing. I don't know about you guys, but when you do this huge of an upgrade to your rig, do you get a little bit nervous that first time you drive it? Rolling forward, nothing seems to be grinding or making any crazy noises. So far, so good. This is funny, a couple videos in a row of drive literally down my cul-de-sac feel is, wow, it feels solid. There's just that thing. It's like, do we just add speed to it? Like, what if something went wrong? I do a pretty good job of my eyeball alignment in the garage, if you guys have been around this channel for a while. And the steering wheel is straight. And it feels, oh, the caster is perfect. Wheel center's up nice, even with the PSC. Everything feels good. We're gonna motor on up to 40. 45, and we hit these bumps here. This is where I got death wobble the last time I did the install. Boom, 50, and the thing is rock solid, like rock solid. I love this. Oh man, we just pulled it out of the garage after a huge install and sent it, and it's doing great. So let's talk a little bit about driving feel so far. Track bar movement up to that higher spot. Bump steer is absolutely gone. The steering is precise. There is zero input from the road to my steering wheel, and I am thrilled. That is just something I'm particular about, that type of stuff. Look at that. Tight U-turn. Did great. Steering wheel's pretty straight. This is amazing. Oh. Brakes feel solid. Look at that. Hard braking, no hands on the wheel, the thing still goes straight. So that's a little exceptional for pulling it out of the garage after this big of a part swap. So I'm in the inside, I'm freaking out because I'm so happy. Right now, I am over the moon with how good this feels. Perfect geometry up there, and that is what I'm going for. The right strength and perfect geometry, and that's what we got. So we'll go to 4 high. Let's turn off let's disconnect the sway bar, and we'll climb this curb. All right, so now we're gonna put it in 4 low, and we'll kind of spider our way over this little guy here. Just let it idle its way up it. And we're just listening to see if I got all the suspension arms on right, and I didn't hear any clunks or pops or nothing bound up. It feels great. Holy, this, for right out of the garage, guys, I know I keep saying that, but this is amazing. We are there. Now we have the front of this thing dialed. Oh yeah. Wow, this year, I told you guys, this year, this Jeep has taken a whole new direction, and look where we're heading. It's awesome. So Fusion Elite 44 is, I think, the pinnacle of the Dana44 crate axle. Well, there you have it, another successful home run of an upgrade to the AutoEdits Jeep, and just in time, heading out to Moab in a week. Gonna make some great content there, so make sure you're subscribed, hit the little bell and notification for me. We gotta grow this channel. I appreciate all the support. I'll put links to the stuff in the description, all the info, sound off in the comments. You know I answer everything, and you guys know the drill. Until next time, enjoy your drive. Yeah, right out of the garage.